This week's USDA numbers and what's going to happen in the commodity markets due to weather in the United States. GIdel is ready to assess all of that and more right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, we are back here with another week. So, can you summarize very shortly what happened this week as a reaction for the USDA report?
Well, as typically the case is, we came in Tuesday and had a report, kind of a cautionary wait to see what the numbers have to say. From there, Monday night's crop progress pretty well came in as expected there with wheat and corn being over 95%, and in the beans were approaching 90%. So there wasn't any real excitement going on in those things. I guess one thing that was kind of interesting was that the winter wheat, the winter wheat crop conditions slipped 2%, and maybe that was a harbinger of what was going to happen on Wednesday, because the U.S. Winter wheat crop numbers were not a big jump here, less than 20 million on the winter wheat. We had a slightly higher number than that in hard red, but we were lower in both soft red and white, and so that was it didn't have a great impact that day on Wednesday, but in general, all the numbers had all the markets had a good rebound into Thursday at this point. The USDA's S&Ds on corn and soybeans virtually unchanged. They did end up taking 10 million out of U.S. Soybean crush, kind of a weird little adjustment. I'm not sure that won't be adjusted back up here if we have a good NOPA crush number here on this coming Monday and that. But interestingly enough, the markets had a decent little pop on Thursday, but then they kind of backed off on Friday. I think we have a very heavy duty high moving into really Iowa, Illinois, and the Eastern Corn Belt, and it's going to keep basically a lot of the rains out of Eastern Iowa through the whole Eastern Midwest and on through the Ohio River Valley. And I think that's a pretty interesting situation right now. The rain events here haven't been all that great in Iowa the last 10 days. And now if we get some more dryness really intensified, and we're talking in the mid 90s on most of those days, so I think it's an interesting factor that could be involved with the markets early next week. But the one crazy situation that always happens is that June has never been a real strong seasonal strength month, because everybody's kind of sitting back and waiting to see what the weather's going to be during pollination. And this year it's going to be kind of stretched out from late June to mid-July because of the planting progress that we had in April, and then we kind of stalled for 2 or 3 weeks. So it'll be interesting as to where, but the overall tendencies here on this year is all involved with the swing from El Nino back to La Nina. And this week, the National Weather Service has said that it's had in neutral right now, but still looking to be in swinging towards La Nina here during July and August.
Well, before we jump again into the U.S. weather and the future prospects, I think it's valid to still comment about trade because we commented last week about the tax situation in Brazil, and that was is completely gone right now. The Congress has rejected the measure immediately, but still, China has taken advantage of the situation and has made some purchases from the United States.
Yes, there has been some purchases here because of the uncertainty of that. If the tax situation, uh, at this point at least, it's not as strong a well, it never really was a real strong possibility. It was such a surprise though it popped up on the end of last week, and that and then, like you say, there hasn't been any positive response from the Brazilian Congress that they're going to go along with this concept of a 20% income tax. That basically South America is not a place that people want to see income taxes. Argentina is another place that those kind of things. That's why they went to tariffs down there, trying to raise their money in Argentina. And to some extent, Brazil hasn't been doing that, but it has to find different ways to come up with their income tax or get their tax revenue to everybody has to end up having some kind of source of income. But right now, at least, that's still an unknown that I think is still out there. Is going to keep people in a nervous area. And I think it's the situation too with China. And the interesting thing about it is that the internal prices in Brazil over the last, 2 to 4 weeks, basis levels have improved. Excuse me, the bit they had to bid up higher to get soybeans and that start moving. There hasn't been a lot of shifts going on. That is a subtle indication that maybe this year's crop isn't as exciting as at least the USDA did. Of course, the USDA again this time around made no changes in Argentina's corn or soybeans, no changes in their in the uh, corn. They did take 1 million out of the soybean crop, I guess because of the wet weather that hit in Rio Grande do Sul, but really modest changes. And I understand that the trade numbers are lower than that significantly, and I really wonder as to uh, if we don't have some adjustments in that. But unfortunately, right now, we're not getting the real size of some of those South American crops really nailed in at this point. We'll have to see if uh, how the corn harvest and the second crop corn harvest is just getting going. Actually, it's doing a little better than normal here. I heard that they were up around 10% here in the safrinha corn, and that's the highest it's been in like 15 years, I think. Some significant, at least 10. I'll take that back. I think it was 10 years from there. So that's an interesting twist that things when harvest moves faster than the normal, there's also a possibility that means that the output isn't as strong as anticipated. But there does seem to be no as big a conflict as there was last year between the bean crop that was pretty substantial, and then the corn crop came in and really messed up the whole Brazilian transportation systems, and that doesn't seem to be the case right now. And so, you know, interesting situation here because the one thing that China is also experiencing, like we're going to have here in the next few days, is a hot spell. We're talking pushing up to that 100-degree temperatures over there. The same as we're going to be in the high 90s here across the Midwest, and I call this the northern hemisphere doesn't really is not a climate that really has a lot of good hundreds in it. You get that scenario in the tropical areas or the along the equator, and at this point, at least, that's something to keep an eye on as we go forward here. China has been somewhat lackluster in interest in both the U.S. and really maybe not buying as much in South America as they have in the past. And that could change quickly if they start to end up having potential crop problems.
Well, and what do you think is going to happen next week? Do you think that situation with dryness in several U.S. states might intensify and the market will react?
Well, I'm anticipating that. Yes, I think we're going to come back stronger on Sunday night, and then uh, we're not going to get any wildly exciting numbers here from the USDA. We do get crop condition updates on corn and soybeans. Maybe there's a slight reduction in some of those good and excellent scenarios, and that wheat progress on harvest will be noted, but it's not a big deal at this point. We're just getting into Kansas at this point, so that's still a little way out. But I think the interesting twist we have here is that we're going to have a activity on Monday and then Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we're going to have a national new holiday called Juneteenth that's going to take the U.S. Commodity markets, stock markets are going to be closed, and so that could make things interesting if you have one less day to look at it, and the forecast does not have any rain in it. And it's a touchy situation. We're going to be at some of our highest temperatures really from Monday through Thursday of next week in the Midwest. And if that, the old game is, well, there's going to be some rain around the corner, but I kind of feel like that there is a possibility we could push this corn market back up towards the excuse me, the 450. We're at the 450 area now in July. I think there's a chance that this thing still could make a push up to around 460 thereabouts. And soybeans, we're 1180 right now after the setback today. Kind of feel like that market still has maybe a swing up into the 1220 situations. And that if that occurred during the heat wave out there, I'd probably go ahead and market half of it, half of the last 15 to 20% that we have going on out here accordingly. So something to keep in mind here for producers, but right now at least there's a chance, I think, for this market to be a little more exciting on things as than going into next week with the heat. But we'll have to see. Everybody's kind of ho-hum here the last few days about weather, but we haven't seen 95-degree temperatures in central Illinois in quite some time.
All right, we'll check back next week. Thank you very much, Jerry.
You bet. You have a good evening, and then we'll talk next week. I'd like to hear about your adventures going out to Pennsylvania.